Hello and welcome to How Do You Drew?
This is a Drew Barrymore podcast brought to you by thedrewseum.com.
I'm Ashley
And I'm Anne.
and welcome to the latest episode.
Episode tres.
Yeah, three's a lucky number for us, so I like it.
I like it.
So I guess we can announce at the top what the topic is, and then we'll kind of go over some other things. So today we're going to go through a magazine retrospective of Rolling Stone from June 15th, 1995, which is, I think, a Drewbie favorite across the board. Would you agree?
I'd say so. Absolutely. Photograph wise and article wise. And I was just kind of doing some quick math. Is this a 27-year-old article?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Is that right?
I think that checks out.
All right. So, but I kind of love when I saw that, I was like, well, that makes me feel really good about sharing this because I think that means there will be a lot of people, anyone who wasn't a fan, even when we were, hard to believe, 3 years after this came out, probably has never read this article. So I think that we're doing a service to the Drew fans.
I mean, I like to think that's all we ever do with our Drewseum and now our podcast.
That's true.
Delivering the goods.
Who else are we servicing?
Yes. True. Ourselves. Okay, so before we get into the episode topic, one quick little oopsie daisy, and really we are literally the only people who will care about this, but I think we want to have it on record. Mm-hmm. We gave the wrong date.
It's important though.
Yeah, we gave the wrong debut date for our own website in the last episode. Well, that's just kind of how we are. So we said it was January 16th, 2006. And for some reason we do that all the time, but it was actually January 15th. So gosh, I know you guys were really concerned about that mistake.
You know what? I think I realized what it is. We just really, really want it to be a 6 and then a 6.
I guess.
I mean, you are a 1. You're a 1 and then an 11. Drew's a 2 and then a 22.
That's true.
We just really wanted it to be 1. We wanted it to be 1, 1, 6, 6. But you know what? We just have to live with the fact that it's 1, 1, 5, 6.
Yeah, we really need to come to terms with this. Maybe we'll get it right next year.
I'll be clenching my teeth until I can get used to it.
All right. That's it, though. We didn't make any other mistakes as far as we know. That's pretty good.
I was going to say shocking. But I'm shocked that we've made any mistakes at all. We are absolutely perfect.
Total pros. Okay.
Total pros.
What else we got going on? We've actually gotten a few comments and an email. We've got a few things, so we'll have plenty to share in the next few episodes for You've Got Mail. I picked just one today because we don't need to constantly be patting ourselves on the back. Do you want to read it?
Or do we? Sure.
You've got mail.
So we got a really sweet message from someone who's been following us for quite some time on Instagram, at CosmicoCopy. And she says, catching up, and OMG, this is so exciting to hear you guys do this. It's making me tear up. I'm so happy to have found you guys so early in my Drew journey. You have no idea. I know I say it a lot, but your archives are so special to me. Thank you for doing the Lord's work. LOL.
See, we are doing a great service.
You are welcome.
Yeah, so sweet.
And thank you so much for the support for these years.
They're really cool. Okay, the only miscellaneous thing I have to bring up this time around is I just found out something kind of funny that I think it was the day after our debut episode came out. This other podcast, his normal podcast is Disgraceland, and it talks about different kind of wild
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty huge. But he has this side podcast called Hollywood Badlands, and the day after our first episode came out, they released an episode about Drew, which I was like, what? And it was called
So cool.
Yeah, it was called Curses, Corpses, and a Coked Up Child Star in the Club. Woo! But basically, if anybody wants to listen, I would say it basically just retells Little Girl Lost. Like, that's definitely the main source of information, but it's told in a pretty fun way, very entertaining, really like snappy writing, different from like what we're doing here. It's a little more scripted. But
cool.
it's
I'll have
fun
to listen to that. I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, and it's short. It's like half an hour, so definitely check that out.
Cool. Yay, Hollywood Badlands.
Yeah. Okay, and then what's new with Drew this week? Just a couple little things. So the Drew Barrymore show premieres on September 12th. So we got a release date, and there's a really cute promo video that they put out on Instagram and YouTube, and it's to the Go Girls, Go Go's. We've got the beat, which Drew loves them, and I guess she was really happy that they gave permission for them to use the song on the commercial. So that was really cute.
Super cute. Super cute.
And then the other thing, I don't think I showed you this, and I don't know how TMZ got this. They're so shady. But I guess Drew sent a video to Britney Spears congratulating her on the new Elton John song doing well. And then Britney sent I know. And Britney sent a video back to her. And TMZ has both the videos because they're creeps.
So they were like clearly sent as personal things?
Yeah. It's weird.
Okay. I haven't checked this out. Now I feel very unprepared.
No, I mean, it's not that important, but there's not a lot to share. So that was the one notable thing I like. It was like, okay, well, this happened.
Okay. TMZ. TMZ, how did they become like such a source for everything kind of?
I know.
I almost want to say illicit, but it's like everything.
Anything they want to get their hands on.
They do.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
So
getting onto something, well, yeah, getting onto the topic. I mean, are we ready?
I think so. This is a biggie, so we should just jump in.
Yeah.
It's going to be the meat of the episode.
This is the meat of the episode. So as we mentioned at the top, we'll be talking about the Rolling Stone from 1995, on which Drew is on the cover. It's an article by Chris Mundy, who also did Us 1997, which was another incredible article. I know it's definitely one of Ashley's favorites.
Yep.
Yes. And this gentleman is also now a showrunner on the show Ozark. So he's done well for himself.
I know.
It's like a little bit of a turn in his career, but rad.
Yeah, I was like looking him up to see like maybe
photographs
if we could contact him, and then I was like, oh no, he's like a whole thing. He's a guy.
Yeah,
he's like busy.
He's a guy. And then the photographs are by one of our favorites, Mark Seliger.
Fan favorite. This was their second shoot ever together, and I counted, and they've done at least 11 in the total of all these years since 1994, which is pretty cool. But this is like
that's so cool.
I know, this is absolutely one of the most classic.
What's the most recent?
He actually did some flower eyewear promo photos.
Oh, cool. I don't think I remembered that. I love that.
Yeah, that's really neat, huh?
That's super cool. And now we've got some notes about the hair and makeup. Hair was done by Helena Acapinti. Sorry if I got that wrong. Makeup by Susan Sterling for the cover, and then Rumiko for the inside. All just classic work.
And I thought that was interesting that there was 2 different makeup artists. So they must have done the cover shoot separately.
Yep. And now we'll kind of talk about the photos on the inside before we get into the article. Once again, these are super classic. Make sure you look at the reference photos that we've put on our website for this, and really soak it in. They're such amazing pictures. If you're not familiar, if you're familiar, these will be like in the forefront of your mind. I have no doubt.
I know it's kind of hard to imagine not immediately recalling these photos. Just being super familiar. But just in case, let's go through them. So we'll start out with the cover, which is like as classic Drew as you can get, maybe, right? We've got
Yep, I would
Close
say
up
so.
on her cute face, her tongue sticking up to one side, her eyes are going up to the other side. It's so close up. Like, I think that was kind of unusual for a magazine cover. You don't really see it that often, and she just looks adorable and perfect. And
Yep.
so that's the only photo from this. I'm just going to call this like a setup because there's lots of different setups in this magazine.
Yep.
It's the only one that appears in the magazine, but we were treated to lots of outtakes from this one later on. So like photos of her,
Yeah.
you know, where she's like naked, she's got the daisies in her hair, you can see a lot of her tattoos. There's one of her like in water surrounded by daisies. I think there were a lot.
Yep.
These were in magazines, these were in books. Like these were very common to find outtakes for, which is great. I wish more of them could say the same.
And I mean, totally. And the couple things that when I think about like this cover image and how close up it is, I think it was a while before we even saw like a clean version of the cover, like without that like rolling stone right over her forehead. Like there are so many times where like with not just this magazine, but many where I'm like, I want to see the whole picture. And I feel like we've maybe seen some clean ones now for sure.
I remember seeing like when you say clean, it's like raw, like a photo where there's absolutely no retouching done. It's just like that close, and it's so cool.
That's right.
I forgot about that till right now. We'll have to add that version in the show.
I mean, and I feel like also it wasn't immediately apparent that the picture of her like floating in the water with the daisies and the others, like it wasn't immediately apparent to me that those were from this because it's such a close up.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I don't know when I figured that out, you know, but I feel like it just wasn't completely clear right away because I don't think you can see her bare shoulders in the cover, right? Like
no, you
see is her face.
You can barely even see the daisies in her hair. You'd have to really be looking.
Okay. So I don't know how we even knew, but it just still feels like such a magical setup, as you called it. Like it's it's so Drew. It's so like maybe because there are so many images from it, like these are some of the, I don't know. And she just looks so I know I already said magical. She just looks so like sweet, and I don't know, they're very Drew.
Kind of like a little pixie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
I mean, I almost don't want to move on from that, but my next setup we'll talk about is the Boy Scout kind of outfit setup. So middle, like she's clearly been like tied up. Is she over a fire? Like it's she's wearing a black wig. And this is one where we've only seen one outtake, and it's bad quality. I don't even think it was printed anything. I don't know. But either way, it's a classic. Like everything about the photo, I even love the like expressions on the boys' faces, like really good little actors. And Drew just looks amazing. I mean, I love her with black hair, so her wearing the black wig, even though it's like a subtle part of the setup, is also real special.
Oh yeah, I know. It's just so cute. Like it's just a really fun image. And you're right, there is a little campfire. It looks like they're either putting it out or trying to get it started. And from what I remember, the one horrible quality outtake is from like a very old version of Rolling Stone's website. That's like my recollection.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember it all, but it's real cute. I mean, she just like turning her eyes the other direction, kind of. Yeah, so unlike the ones of the cover shoot, like this one is just a subtle difference for the outtake.
Okay, it's such a good one. All right, and then the next photo in the magazine is it's black and white, and it's like a sumo wrestling scene where it's Drew and a sumo wrestler, and she's got this long braid, like obviously extensions coming off the back of her hair, and it's just funny. They almost look like they're dancing together.
Yeah.
It's definitely like so random when you think about it. And again, we have seen,
and it's one that I kind of forget about.
Yeah, because it's like a one-off. We've seen one other outtake, and it's horrible quality as well. Probably was from the same website. And instead of dancing where she's leaning back in the outtake, she's like leaning her head onto the sumo wrestler's chest. But again, it's like really unique, and
it's a really cool photo.
Yeah, kind of maybe underappreciated.
I would say so. I also feel like it was maybe reprinted in something where I have like a lot of copies of it, so I might have just kind of I don't know. I feel like I look past this one a lot, and it's really cute. You almost wouldn't know it was 95. Like, I don't know, there's something about it, like her face, maybe because of the hair, it almost looks like it's a little bit later or something.
Yeah, I could see that. It's definitely not easily identifiable.
Also a classic.
That's that year.
Yeah. And then this next one has a real special place, and I imagine in both of our hearts.
Yeah.
So you can't really tell in the version that's in the magazine. So the image that's in the magazine, there's Drew is like kissing a horse. She's wearing kind of like a circular skirt that looks like it has like a hard,
like a hula hoop.
How to describe it? Like a hula hoop around the bottom of it. She's wearing a little hat, holding an umbrella, and like sitting. It looks like in sand.
Yeah, it's on the beach.
Okay. And we've seen an outtake and then a little bit of footage from this. So we've gotten some like real special kind of insight into this. So one outtake was used on one of, I'm going to say both of our favorite covers ever. Maybe it's only one of my favorites.
No, I love it. And it's one, I still don't own it, which is so sad. I can't believe it.
And I don't remember where I got my copy. Do you remember?
I think you got it from Rob.
That sounds right. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
So Boulevard magazine from 97. Does that sound right?
That's correct.
So I think it might have been kind of like either a weekly or a newspaper magazine.
Yeah,
it's definitely super hard to find.
On Sunday. So I think it was like an insert in a Sunday newspaper in England, I believe.
God, it's so beautiful. So in this, you can see that she's wearing like a hot pink outfit. You can't tell in the one it's printed in Rolling Stone, but it's this like hot pink outfit. And then the other images we've seen, God, I would love to see more outtakes. Looks like she's on a tightrope. And what was the footage for? So MTV, but what was it on?
I think they were just doing an interview with her on the set of it. They used to do that kind of thing. And then they show it in biorhythm. So that's how we've seen it. I don't know if it was ever shown. I mean, obviously they probably showed it on like MTV News or something like at that time. God. But it's so cool.
I can only think of a couple of things where I've seen like footage of her on photo shoots. Like maybe there are a lot actually, but I'm thinking of like there was some cool footage from, and I'm gonna blank on what it is. Was it Bizarre where she had like the faux fire coming from her head?
Oh,
like wasn't there some footage from that? Maybe
that's
not.
So funny. I don't even remember. Like that's a more recent one, so my brain doesn't quite have as much of a lock on it.
But I feel like it's rare to see footage. Like I don't know. This was just a really, really special one.
Well, especially
the hot pink
then.
Is so. I almost forgot that the image in the Rolling Stone was black and white because I can almost picture it in color.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But real special. I feel like I'm going on a little too long about it, but
it's a good one.
It's really quite sweet.
I mean, that's it for the main photos that were done for this magazine. They have a couple other tiny photos inside that are not part of the shoot. So there's a really cute one of her and Eric Erlandson at a whole show, and they're like about to kiss, and she's holding a cigarette in one hand, and it's like basically 1995. Actually, that might have been late 94, but this era of Drew in a nutshell, like perfectly sums it up.
Yep. It's really sweet. That's a really cute picture. And then the other little clipping piece in there is little Drew. So 1983 image of her holding some daisies. So I think it goes really well with the other images.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, and it's really cute. Do we know what that shoot is from?
No, we have in our collection of digital photos. We have a handful from this, but I have no idea what it was for. It's like a mystery one. We don't know the
and we don't know who Okay. I wonder if the Rolling Stone has some credit we can look at. But
yeah, really, that would be a good
idea. I thought about that just now, so maybe we'll do a little, not an oopsie daisy, but kind of a clarification in the next episode if we figure it out. Yeah, so now we can get into the article a bit, which is kind of like the meat of this. Sorry about saying meat, both of us are vegetarians.
I don't know why we keep talking about meat.
It's the is there another word? No, I was gonna say the cream, but I don't like that either.
The chunk.
This is the chunks.
All these words are bad.
They're not great. Not great.
How about the chewy inside?
Okay, Ashley. The nougat. We got to this is the nougat of the episode.
So get ready to bite in. So we are ready to jump into the article. We're gonna see how this goes. We've never done something like this before. We're just gonna take you through all the main points. There are a lot of really good, like I want to say meaty. Oh my God. There's like really good, substantial, awesome. This is like peak 95 Drew. And you guys will see what we're talking about.
And it's like personality wise, the content of the interview, like I feel like it's actually strange to think about the fact that it was 5-6 years after she'd been out of rehab. No, less.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
So
how much living she did in like a very short amount of time, and how many like eras she sort of went through. I mean, it's crazy that this is only 3 years before all the stuff we talked about in 1998. Like that feels like a big gap.
It does. So, but it feels very like there's a certain kind of way that she went about, like that she was growing in 95, and this kind of encapsulates a lot of those things.
Perfectly said.
And I think also we want to encourage everyone who hasn't read this, like, read it. Maybe we need to put it online. Like, can we put the transcript, a PDF of the transcript?
Yeah, we could do that. I don't know if legally we can, but sure, let's try it.
Yeah, so maybe we'll put a transcript up so you can all read it for yourselves. This is a really beautifully written, we might have already said this, but it's a beautifully written article.
Yeah, props to Chris Mundy, because I think we'll definitely do an episode on the US-97 because that's like majorly important to me. Yeah. And he just nails her personality, like her essence comes through. He nails her with an apple. Little callback to anybody listening to the last episode.
Yep. You know, we're just making callbacks already. That's how you make a successful podcast, right? You have like inside jokes.
Yes.
You have callbacks.
We'll have shirts with quotes on them before we know it.
Perfect. I can't wait.
All right.
I can't wait.
Let's dive into it. So, the first part of the interview, it is done in New York. And they don't specify the date, but it's really easy to do the math. So it was done on April 14th, 1995. And the reason we know that is because the article opens with stating that it's been 2 days since she did the Letterman flashing. So that's how I did that.
Just a little bit of sleuthing, just a little minor sleuthing.
I worked really hard to figure that out.
Yeah, and you'll see that Ashley does like minor to major sleuthing. It's quite a range. And I sit back and go, thanks, Ashley.
I like doing it. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it does state that she's been getting thumbs up on the street from men, which I thought was pretty gross, but gross. Not surprising.
Yeah.
It's also at this time, it's exactly her 10-month anniversary with Eric Erlandson. So they must have started dating. I hope I'm doing the math right. Yeah, it would have been June 14th, 1994, which checks out with what we know, I believe.
Yeah.
When she was filming Mad Love.
Cute.
And they say the most important part about this day is that this is the day her divorce from Jeremy Thomas finally became official. And that's crazy because she had
crazy.
filed on May 10th, 1994. So it was like 11 months went by before it finally went through. So
That's
I don't know
crazy.
if that's like a California thing or what, but
yeah, that's a long turnaround.
Yeah. And when she mentions this at the beginning of the article, she refers to Jeremy as the devil. So that really ended well.
Yeah, I also really loved how they described her laugh. I'm gonna see if I can find it really quick.
Oh, okay.
So and it says the devil ... and then she promptly giggles, not the worldly knowing laugh she sometimes expels to let you know she's been around the block a few times, but the girlish, almost childlike chortle she uses when trying to elicit a response from your inner babysitter.
Whew,
it's like,
that was a good quote.
I know, I just loved it when I read it. I was like, wow, like that. I feel like that's really like, I can hear it. I can hear that, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, she says right afterward, I'll just read this quote that I wrote down because I think this is really true to who she was at this time. She says, I just want to be free. That's the whole point I've been trying to make since I was a child, and I'm still making it. Yeah,
that's really sweet.
Up.
Yep. That sums it up real well. And actually this next little part, it's describing her, I believe. Like, so it's talking about kind of how encompassing this adult and child, like, kind of persona.
Which makes sense. Like, she was barely 20. Like, she was young.
That's a trip. That's such a trip. So it says she threw a dart and does a victory shimmy, which I also feel like I can picture.
Oh, 100%.
And then like immediately kind of talks about like a powerful producer meeting that she's going to have with a Budweiser in hand and a grape flavored Mickey Mouse lollipop in the other.
It's like that is the type of detail that I just like soaked up in my early Drew days. Like, why is that so cool to know?
Yep. And I feel, isn't there an interview that's done at Musso and Frank and they describe it really amazingly?
Oh, I don't know.
I'll have to figure out which one it is.
Okay.
But this is like one where like when I have gone to Musso and Frank, which I've done once, I was like kind of trying to picture like, where was Drew sitting? I mean, there are so many things that have happened at Musso and Frank. It's a historic place in Hollywood. Anyway, that's one of the kind of things like, we're sitting here and here's what we're talking about. Like,
just the little details.
Adds this wonderful detail. Yeah. And then we've got another quote here. Do you want to go ahead and read that one?
Sure. It kind of goes with what they've been talking about. She says, I'm an adult and I'm a child. They go in and out. I get to be a kid now because I wasn't a kid when I was supposed to be one. But in some ways, I'm an old woman. Lived it, seen it, done it, been there, have the t-shirt.
I feel like the sentiment about getting to be a kid because she wasn't a kid is something that she's repeated her entire career.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Especially at this time. Like, this is like free, silly, just wild. This is just I think everybody really feels nostalgia for this era of Drew.
Yep. And then we get into this little part about Drew's relationship with her mother and her embarrassment about her mom dedicating her like sex book to her. And then she claims they hadn't talked in 4 years, but it can't be accurate because Doppelganger was filmed in 1992, which...
Hey, look, Drew's never been good about knowing how many years have gone by.
No, Drew, we love you. We love you, but you usually about double the amount of time that's passed. It's okay. We will keep you on track.
I feel like
you can...
next time she wants to say when something happened, shoot us a little message, Drew. We'll tell you the real time when it happened.
Yeah, we've got all of the sources to figure this out. Your brain can't be trusted.
I don't expect her to keep track the way we do. It's okay.
No. And actually, to be fair, well, I think I can keep pretty good track of my time. Never mind. I was gonna say, to be fair, can anyone keep that good of track of their own things? But anyway, so then she says that they had been corresponding, her and her mother had been corresponding by letters in the mail since Drew's 20th birthday. So that year, I guess they had been kind of become sort of pen pals, which is really sweet to imagine.
And something else, of course, I already forgot where it was, but I definitely came across something else around this time where it said that they only communicated by letters. So that checks out.
That's sweet. A quote from Drew in this part of the article says, "My mom always told me that I have to be totally accepting that the person I'm with is going to leave because we're all born alone on this earth and we'll all die alone. Both my parents grooved on love, and both of them were not capable of having a relationship with another person. Not a lover, not a friend, not even their own family. It really fucked up my ideas of what love was supposed to be." Which is such a like,
rough.
It's really rough. And I don't think she would say she feels, I mean, I think that she's like, has a pretty good relationship with love now. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, she's had struggles with relationships throughout her life, but I feel like she still has, like, she has such a positive outlook. And of course, that's something we love so much about her. So, like, her having come from this kind of like negative,
right,
like, you're gonna die alone.
I mean, if you take out the romantic love, she's clearly very, very capable of having strong relationships. Like, she's got friendships that have lasted for decades. So she definitely is better at it than her parents were or are.
Yep. And I'll just go ahead and point out that I couldn't help but notice the "we'll all die alone" was reminiscent of the line from Donnie Darko, spoken by Roberta Sparrow, aka Grandma Death. Every living creature on Earth dies alone, which she whispers to Donnie.
It's kind of a weird coincidence. I wonder.
Yeah.
If there's something there, but maybe not. Maybe it's just a coincidence.
It's probably just a coincidence, but it's still interesting.
Yeah. She does then give a little bit of a props to Jade, because she says that Jade stood up to a playground bully when Drew was 6. I hope this is an exaggeration, but maybe not. Apparently, Jade came to school and grabbed that little boy by the collar and threatened to cut his dick off if he messed with Drew again.
It's a little intense.
It's a lot.
It's a little intense. But then, like, Drew says something like she appreciates it. Like, thanks, Mom, for sticking up for me. You know, so that's real funny.
She's got to find the positivity where she can in that relationship.
Yep. But, you know, threatening to cut a child's genitals off, I'm not quite sure.
I hope this is an exaggerated story.
And then she says she doesn't know where her dad is. And really, you know, it feels, I mean, I'm still so confused about her relationship with her dad, like, as a young adult. Yeah, like, I don't really, I know she kind of says certain things about like the last age she remembers having contact and such, but again, we can't really, like, Drew doesn't grasp age, like her age at certain times very well.
True.
So I'm just curious, like, if there's any way for us to really know.
So the only thing I would go off of is there's definitely a picture of them maybe closer to the end of 1995 together. So maybe, I mean, if this was April, it could definitely have been a little bit later. So maybe she reconnected with him briefly soon after this. And I think it was really just in waves after that, you know?
Yeah. I can picture the picture you're talking about, but what was it from?
I don't know. It was printed in some magazine. Weirdly enough, I want to say Premiere. And
like, much later, right?
Much later, yeah. And I think it also might be in that Barrymore family book.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. That would definitely be worth having on our episode page.
I will note that right now.
It's a really, really amazing picture. So they did at least have some, but that would have been, like you said, at the end of 95. So after this article came out, even though she was kind of like maybe a little bit shit talking him, and he deserves it. They did at least have somewhat of a relationship. The article also talks about rehab and her and David Crosby being her sponsor, right?
Yeah, or at least how he took her in after, because his wife, I believe, worked at the rehab facility.
Oh, wow. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, her name is Jan Dance. She definitely gets mentioned a lot in Little Girl Lost.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that name for sure. One thing in this article that I just either had forgotten or didn't know was that David Crosby knew her parents. And I just kind of had a realization. Could it be that it was because Jade had the affiliation with the Troubadour in Hollywood?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think it was just kind of the same circles they ran in, maybe.
Yep. And then David Crosby is quoted as saying, he thinks her mother, as in Jade Barrymore, is one of the worst influences possible for Drew, which is like, it's harsh, but you know what? You know, like he was somebody who really looked out for her.
Yeah.
And
one of the only parental figures she'd ever had at that point.
Yep.
Aside from Steven Spielberg, maybe.
I'm also having a memory of one of the which special is it where he's quoted?
Yeah.
What does he say? Because we used to quote it.
Oh my gosh, I have to think about this for a minute. Give me some money now, or something like that. He's talking about Drew's dad.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we used to say that. I don't know why we used to quote it. This is just one of the many, many random things that over the years, Ashley and I have made like our own
little inside jokes.
Yes. Give me some money now. Is it biography?
I think it is biography. That's what my first instinct was.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Steven Spielberg, this is kind of old news. We all are familiar with this, but she just briefly touches on that she loves that he will always see her as a little girl. And she talks about getting the Playboy on her birthday with the big quilt, and then all the pages. He'd had his art department, or I don't know, that'd be an art department. His graphics department, probably. That would make more sense. Put little outfits over her, which, by the way, is one of the things I think we would love to see.
Oh my God. I would love to see that.
You know, if we ever do our prop-up Drewsium in person and Drew participates, that's one of the things we're going to ask her to give us.
unless she lost it in the fire.
Let's not talk about that.
Okay, sorry.
She definitely had so much stuff in a storage unit, because remember when she did that thing on Instagram where it was like storage unit week, and there was some old stuff in there. So she might.
That's a good point.
Might have it. I'm trying to be optimistic.
That's a good point. Yeah, in the article she claims that she doesn't respond to the name Drew, that she has like somewhat of a negative association to it because all her life she's kind of been the famous Drew Barrymore,
which is so interesting. I don't feel like she feels that way. This time,
yeah. But again, it's so close to having come out of rehab. Like when you think about it, like relatively close. So she says her friends call her Dee or Daisy, and then they talk about her wearing the little necklace that says Daisy in beads, like on her neck, which I believe we have photographs of.
There's got to be. Yeah, I'll take a look.
Okay. Some more work for you.
And then I just liked this quote because I remember feeling this exact way. It says, in person, Barrymore is a miniature version of herself. And I remember the first time I saw her in person, when we saw her at the Tonight Show in 2003. That was exactly like, her face is like very tiny in person.
Yep.
I just thought that was cute.
And I always feel like, okay, is she 5'2" or 5'4", her height?
She says she's 5'4".
But like, she's always wearing high heels.
Yeah. So the picture that I always think about is of you and I at Flower Films with her in 2011. And I remember she's wearing pretty high boots, and our heads are about equal, and I'm 5'6", and I think you are.
I'm 5'6".
Yeah. So I guess it could be right. She might be a little tinier than that. She seems tiny.
Either way, she just feels, for being such a like big, I don't want to say big personality, because sometimes that makes it seem like she's like, I don't know, like
it's like a larger than life essence in a lot of ways.
Like her essence is big. Like for being such a like for having such a like big essence and like filling the room with like her glow, she's tiny.
Yeah.
Like we've been lucky enough to be in her presence, to hug her, to like, I mean, and every time I'm surprised by how small she is. Like every time we've been in her presence, I'm like, oh yeah, you're like
I know, that's why I had to put that line in there, because I was like, yep, this is correct. Chris Mundy.
Yep, good job. Yes. And then she talks about the experience of playing the character in Mad Love, playing Casey. And she says, my character goes into an institution and her brain starts to deteriorate. How many other fucking actresses can relate to that? And she stops, waves her arms in the air like a kid trying to get the teacher's attention, and shouts at the top of her lungs, I can!
I can totally picture that.
I can picture it too. I always think it's interesting too that she talks about the rehab center as an institution.
Yeah.
And I think at some point in this article it describes it as a mixture between a mental institution and a rehab.
The interesting thing is, I don't feel like in Little Girl Lost it's very much alluded to as that, but especially in more recent years, she's definitely told stories about it being like a psych ward
Yeah.
as well, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Literally.
and I don't know the history of the place. And the place, is it still there?
No,
she went
it's
to the
not.
location, but not the actual, like the place no longer existed in that place, right?
Correct. Yeah. It was like pretty much of that time, and that's it. Like late
Okay.
80s, early 90s, and then that
Okay.
seems to be it.
Okay.
And then, kind of on the same train about the rehab, she does worry in this article about what people are going to think of her drinking, but she just wants to be free. And I'll read this quote. It's kind of long, but I don't know. I think it's interesting. She says, "Every time I take a sip of alcohol, I think, what will people think? That's strange. Try that on for fucking size, living your life in a fishbowl for everyone to judge you. How about that? I'm fine. This is what kills me. Ask any person in this industry if I missed one fucking day of work, or if I was ever unprofessional or threw a temper tantrum or walked onto the set drunk. It's never happened. Doesn't that stand for something? The only reason anyone found out anything about me is because some guy broke into my hospital and reported it. I never asked him to exploit my story. Nobody ever would have known because I never missed a day of work over it. This guy has some pretty gnarly karma coming. So to clear the record, I had to tell people myself. I had to go, okay, I'm getting my fucking life together, and now I'm fine. I'm happy."
Yeah, I think that whole thing, like, she doesn't sound, I wouldn't say she even sounds bitter. She just sounds frustrated that she has this judgment over some part of her life that, like, to some extent she didn't really have control over. Like,
yeah.
I mean, when we go back to what David Crosby said about her mother, like, not that I'm blaming her, but there was something about the environment that she was in.
Right. She
and
didn't
the adults
have
around
a
her.
great chance.
No, and like, she has flourished. And if we're looking at an article from 27 years ago, and like, I'm so curious if she were to read this now, how she would interpret her own, like, I think she, I feel like she has described living her life in a fishbowl in different ways, like, kind of like that she lives a public life, but that's what she's known.
Yeah, she's more accepting of it now.
Yeah.
It also made me think, like, wow, what if, not that it's like I would want to change anything, but like, what if that guy never had gotten there and put it in the National Enquirer? Like, what if we never knew? I think, I would imagine these days she's probably really grateful that happened.
Yep.
So she didn't have to kind of like live a lie, but it's interesting to think about.
Having gone through that as an additional hardship probably actually made her who she is.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know if she would be who she was. Like, yeah, she would have still been in the rehab / institution / psych ward. Like, she still would have had to go through that. But having to, like, be that honest probably made her like, okay, I'm just an open book now. Like,
I'm probably having to, like, fight for people to take her seriously again. Also is a huge part of who she is.
Yep. So, like, I don't know. That's a good quote. I'm glad that you pulled that.
Yeah, it was long, but it's a good one.
The next part of the article takes place in New York. Do they say how many days after the first part it is?
No, it kind of jumps. So it could be same day, it could be another day.
So they talk about, like, they're at a park in New York's East River, and they describe what she's wearing, which I can picture it because I feel like it's exactly an outfit that she wore to an event.
I mean, or maybe not elements of it, maybe not all together, but yeah.
Yeah. So it says she's wearing a leopard print coat, a loose low cut blouse, purple sunglasses held together with a diaper pin, and her hair in a spiky disarray. Of course, what I'm picturing, and I can't remember what the event is. It's a New York event, like a book event or something, where she's wearing the leopard print coat. She's wearing sunglasses.
I know. Oh, wait. The one I'm picturing with the leopard print coat is no sunglasses, and this took some research, but it's at the Toronto International Film Festival for the premiere of 4 Rooms, and
Oh.
I know from digging that she was there to kind of court director Robert Rodriguez to direct Scream. That's a lot.
Oh.
I mean, we'll get into that in the Scream episode, but that's the only time I can picture her in the leopard coat. But now that you're saying it, oh, she wears like a leopard dress.
Maybe it's not a coat.
To another event in 95.
Anyway, maybe we can find something that shows the coat that we're thinking it is.
We can show
and
the coat.
And I'm also picturing sunglasses, so I don't know which ones I'm thinking of. Either way, I can totally picture this. There's also something really cute that it says. It says something like, if they have a reunion picnic for the Sex Pistols, like this, she would show up this way. Doesn't it say something like that?
Yeah, which is pretty funny.
It's really cute. So I love that they're kind of describing her as like punk rock.
Yeah.
So that was real cute. And now, of course, I'm like making more work to find images, but
that's okay. That's what I do.
Every visual aid that we can give to somebody who wants to dig further.
If we're gonna keep talking about it, there is a picture of her with the sunglasses and the diaper pin. It's just kind of small quality. It's from I think it's like Newsday. Oh, neither of us have it. You know what I'm talking about? And it's also in a park, which is kind of weird. But you can see that she has the diaper pin. But then, so I already was kind of looking for like if there were better pictures of that. But I found that she has that same pin on her wrist, like on a bracelet in when she was at A Time for Heroes in 95.
Yeah.
So you like that?
Oh my God. Oh my God. We could just go on a
oh my gosh, right?
We can pluck something out of these good articles and we can talk about it for an hour. Just
so true.
Challenge accepted.
Well, then I love this next part. So they're enjoying being outside, and Drew gives this quote: "I tell you, nothing makes you appreciate being outside more than being locked up for a year. Nobody appreciates the sky more than me. Nobody. I have this fear that goes way beyond claustrophobia. I want to fucking be free. I mean that in every way possible." And I thought that was like cool because, you know, there was that video of her a few months ago where she's like doing renovations in her kitchen and she uncovers that window.
Yes.
For some reason it went viral because I guess people thought it was hilariously weird that she was like crying over finding a window.
That seems exactly her.
I was like, no, you guys don't understand. She was locked up and has never been able to get over appreciating seeing the sky. Like,
yeah,
this is more than just finding a window and thinking that's cool. This is symbolic. Yep. This is Drew at her core.
Yep. Didn't the woman from SNL do a parody of it? Yeah. Yeah. What's her name?
Chloe.
I'll look it up. Is it Feineman?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that it definitely, one of our favorite things about Drew is that she is the same person.
Yeah.
You know, and like this is just one of the many examples of it. Like, and I love that she says the same things, that she has similar sentiments and yet has grown. Like, you know, I don't know. It's
consistent,
just really lovely.
But always evolving.
Yes, exactly. The article has the story about meeting Eric, which...
Is there anybody who... Maybe we should quickly...
I think we should kind of say it.
Okay.
So the story is that she went outside of... Okay, I feel like I remember it being the Viper Room.
Yeah, so you know what's so weird? I feel like I've always thought it was the Viper Room too, but I don't know that...
That it says that? Okay.
We'll find the proof of
so
that
Viper
somewhere.
Room, and that it was a show for the band That Dog.
Yes, that's definitely
and so Drew was outside throwing up, and then Eric came up to check on her, and then she ended up throwing up on his shoes.
Yeah,
so
and it was mac and cheese.
Oh, wait, is there an illustration of it somewhere, or am I remembering that wrong?
Oh, I think there was in Entertainment Weekly. That sounds right.
We may or may not be able to pull that, but that's okay.
Oh, we'd have it. I'll find it.
But then she says that she loves that he has such a huge family, that she didn't really feel like she had a family that she could connect to the way it connected to his. I think she said that he has 7 siblings, or maybe there are 7 kids or something. And then she says she wants to have a son and daughter and name her daughter Ruby Daffodil, which is really cute.
So
and it feels very 95 Drew to say that.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure there were people who had that screen name. Doesn't that seem like a thing?
Oh my God, yes.
I also thought it was interesting. I mean, it's just such a consistent theme in her life, dating people who have really big families who like, I think that's a big draw for her with her partners.
And I feel like when she's talked about like Nancy Giovonen's family, like I don't remember if Nancy has a big family, but she definitely like feels like she's part of Nancy's family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Something I think she's always been seeking out, which after we just talked about her parents, who could blame her?
Yep. And in case anyone doesn't know who Nancy Givonen is, it's her longtime partner. And I think this comes up a little bit later when we talk about things later in the, but briefly. Longtime partner at Flower Films.
And then this is interesting to me because again, this is like, does this check out timing wise? So she says that she's not close at all with Courtney Love. And that she is very accepting of her. Like she has space to understand why Courtney is the way she is, but they don't need to be friends. But very soon after this, they're totally palling around for like years.
So maybe it was just kind of like it took a while for them to warm up to each other.
Or maybe, here's my theory. Drew's dad and Courtney read this article together and both said, we need to be close to Drew now.
I think possible. You know what? I think that's plausible. I could
see them having some very interesting conversations, the two of them.
Totally. I think she also says something really sweet. Like they allude to Courtney Love having lost Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
And like think about how fresh that was. Like it was a year before this.
Gosh, that is wild, huh?
So crazy.
Wow.
So crazy. And she alludes to that and just kind of says like, how could you not be like, I don't know. She said like that's one of the reasons that she's so accepting of her, like them not getting along. She's like, you know what? She's gone through some shit. Like leave her alone kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
The article goes into one of her tattoos, talking about her ex, Jamie Walters. And it's of a cherub it had a little kind of ribbon with the name Jamie in it. And she talks about how it bled within a year and you could no longer read the name. I don't know if we have photographs that show it. I feel like we have one that shows it like super clear.
Right, when it was very new.
From like Interview 92.
Yeah.
So we have a super clear image of it. I don't think we have super duper clear images of it after the fact. I'm sure we have some. But she did say something like interesting that the tattoo artist said something like,
trust me.
Wait. Oh, trust me. Like, what? And she I think she interpreted that as being like, oh, trust me, it will bleed. I don't know.
Trust me. It said a year later he was gone, and so was the tattoo. Or so was his name.
Yes.
If I were a tattoo artist, I'd probably tell everybody, are you sure you want to get this name on you?
Yes.
And then it goes into another one of her relationships. It again talks about the Jeremy Thomas marriage. I'll put in quotes.
Yes.
She admits that they were dating, but that they were not ready to get married. He just needed a green card, which we all know that now. But it's kind of funny. I just watched an interview with her when she was promoting Bad Girls. So right after they got married. And she really was selling it. She was really trying to make it sound like they were all in love and it was perfect. But this like after watching that and then reading this quote, it's just like, oof. So she says, it was such a joke. The whole thing was a fucking lie. The press lied about it. We lied about it. I felt alienated from the world when it happened because I felt like such an asshole and that everybody knew it. But after I did something wrong, I made it right. I got out of it. I just said, okay, my fucking life's ruined. You got what you wanted. You're happy. I'm fucking out of here.
And then there were some articles later, like with letters between them. Like, didn't he?
Yeah, he like sold some like cards and photos to the tabloids, which I guess is why she calls him the devil.
Yeah, but how much later were those put in magazines? Because I feel like it was years later, but maybe it wasn't.
I don't know. I feel like it might have been around this time.
But I mean, we feel really lucky to see these, even though it was like once again kind of like an invasion of her privacy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I shouldn't be excited about seeing this, but it's really cool.
But in these, like, I feel like there may be like a poem.
Yeah, she writes like she's really in love with him. Like, I believe she was like into him, but
but she also, Drew's a romantic.
Yeah.
And she might have just been really convincing herself.
Yeah, I'm sure she was.
He seems like he was totally using her, which sucks.
Yeah, it does.
We maybe think he, maybe he loved her, maybe he thought he loved her. I don't know, but conveniently she was a romantic. And I love this next part in the issue where they talk about her opening up her backpack.
Which is great because she still says she prefers a JanSport to a purse. Like that's still a consistent thing. It's like, I love it.
That's so cute. That's so cute. But out of the bag, she's got cigarettes, a wallet, a photo of her kissing her boyfriend, a file of facts, a camera, a pocket dictionary. I wanted to go back to the word filofax.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Because I've heard this kind of like used sort of like colloquially to mean like an address book. And both Ashley and I, like, we were kind of like, wait, isn't that the thing that like you kind of like roll around with business cards on it? But no, that's called like a Rolodex. It's something different. Anyway, a filofax. And then she says, like, regarding the pocket dictionary.
It's a planner. That's what we should say. Like, technically.
Oh, you're not just an address book.
Yeah, no, it's like a planner, which, again, she loves a calendar and a planner still. It's totally still the same.
Yep. And then she talks about the pocket dictionary and says that the last word she looked up was nirvana. And the definition of nirvana being the final freeing of the soul from all that enslaves it. And it says that she began to cry talking about that. And it says for the 100th time in the past few days, or what seems like the 100th time in the last few days. And she said when she looked it up, it was crushing to her soul. I wonder if she looked up that word because of the band Nirvana?
Well, she's like embarrassed to tell the interviewer that that's what the word was. I think she's kind of like, wait, don't think it's because of this. Like, it's not because of that.
But then she doesn't explain that it's not that.
I don't know. I could totally see her seeing it in a book and stopping and looking up. I think that's what she used to do.
Yeah. Either way, really beautiful. Of course, like, and Drew's always talked about loving dictionaries.
Yeah.
Like, this is like her, this backpack, the contents of this backpack are her.
You're right. Like, just that backpack alone. Okay, that's 1995 Drew. You don't need to know anything else.
Yep. Really cool.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so now the interview, it must be a bit of time has gone by, and now they're in LA. So this Chris Mundy just got to hang out with her for all kinds of days.
Jelly.
I know, right? And it says that she's driving around Sunset Boulevard in a huge black monster truck. And both Anne and I figured maybe that's the Bronco that she talks about driving through the fence in Wildflower.
Yep. And did they say what year it is in Wildflower? Like, I feel like it's...
Well, we'd be going off her memory, so we can't...
True. I feel like I somehow in my mind thought it was like 94. So I guess it would make
that's how I remember
like
it
94,
too.
95.
Yeah.
And I was picturing, when I read that story, I was picturing like the car from Mad Love, like the truck.
Oh,
which is so funny. Like, but
funny.
an old Bronco is kind of like that weird big truck from
My dad actually had one. So
nice.
It's easy for me to imagine.
Nice.
But hers has stuffed animals on the dash, and my dad's did not.
What?
I know, weird, right?
Bill.
Totally seems like his style.
Anyway, so she talks a little bit about working at the coffee shop when she was a teenager, and it says she cried tears of joy when she sucked working at the coffee shop and got a call saying she landed poison ivy. I gotta look back at the quote they say for how they describe poison ivy.
Oh yeah.
It says, and so the phone rang to tell her that she would be a murdering teenage slut, and Barrymore cried tears of joy. I just love it. But then she said she kind of thought it was because it was meant to be because of her cross tattoo, because Ivy also has a cross tattoo, but it's on a different part of her leg, so it's on her thigh instead of her ankle. And then she kind of says she wanted to be crazy and sexy to leave the child actor behind. So,
which successful.
Yep.
You did it, Drew. They briefly talk about Boys on the Side, which, was kind of had only been out for a couple months. And I just love this part because I totally agree. It says there's no denying that Barrymore breathes life into the film at every turn. It's not surprising that she counts that character as the one most like her true self.
Aww.
I mean, I think her performance in that movie is one of her best still. Uh, that's a big statement, but she's just so good in that movie.
She's really cute. And
It's
also, you
like
said
charismatic.
in our first episode, you
Yeah.
said that hearing her voice in the trailer.
Yeah,
Like
it's
you
like
thought like
two
she
parts.
seems cool.
Like
Yep.
just like when she's talking about Whoopi Goldberg's character being a lesbian and she goes,
Yep.
hello. Like
Yep.
something about that. I was like, oh, what? Who's that? I like her.
Yep. Yep. That's so great. I also love that in this article, Chris Mundy, is that his name?
Yeah.
So he seems to have like done the work. So he like
totally
talked. I'm gonna kind of jump back because I feel like there's a point where he says that she didn't want him to interview her mom.
Yes, you're right.
Which
it does
I
say
thought
that.
was, yeah. So then in this part, the interviewer was talking to Chris O'Donnell. So just kind of to jump forward back to where we are. So he describes Drew as butterflies and daisies. That's her deal. And she has a book with her at all times to keep track of the world. I always give her a hard time because she'll actually be taking pictures of clouds.
Again,
and when it
like,
says that, we like literally have an example.
Yeah,
from
which
Interview
probably
magazine
from the same exact time that this was
Yep.
written.
Totally, which I love. So there's a Polaroid that was printed in Interview magazine, which has a lot of her personal photographs. Picture of clouds, like
best.
a beautiful one. So it's really cool to be able to like literally connect. Like, you know, she's her authentic self.
Yeah.
Like at all times. I love that when I read this, I can't help but think of like what I've said to people in the past about Drew, and it's that I love that she's like, even though people might kind of claim that she seems like inauthentic, you've never heard anyone come out and say anything bad about her. Like, it's not like there's some, you know, everyone has this maybe a deep dark underbelly, but I feel like with Drew, she doesn't let it come into like her interactions with other people, nor does she, which, you know, if people can't help it, that's fine. I'm not kind of talking bad on people who like are not perfectly wonderful all the time, because I'm not. But just about like but just like there's something about like you don't hear people coming out and saying like, oh, she's not,
secretly
she was
huge
mean.
bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, like you hear that about a lot of public figures,
for sure,
that they're actually not kind to people,
right? But Drew
and I can think of many examples off the top of my head
me too.
of people who I've heard are not nice to their fans, not nice to their crew, not nice to the cast, and you don't hear that about her.
Never. The opposite.
Never. I mean, she's paying them all off, but Drew, you're doing
she's doing a really good job covering her track.
Doing a great job. Yes. Yes.
Well, speaking of like kind of crew, the next part just briefly mentions Flower Films, which was really new. And it just says how she had founded it with two partners. And I just wanted to mention that because I feel like if you have not read things from this era, you would probably not know that there were two partners. You would know there was Nancy, who we already mentioned, but Drew's former assistant, Kim Greitzer, maybe that's how you say it, she also was there at the beginning. We don't really know why she chose to leave. But it's sort of interesting. I feel like her being there has been erased from history. It never gets mentioned.
That's true.
But maybe it was at her request.
That's true.
Who knows?
I mean, speaking of personal assistants, just on the side, like she kind of raises up people who work for her. So she tends to like one of her personal assistants for many years, Chris Miller, like he was executive producer on her show.
And like president of Barrymore Brands. Like, I mean, he definitely rose up. But yeah, that's it. I like that you said that. That's definitely true. Yeah.
And then like Chris Miller, who we've been able to interact with, and he's been so kind to us over the years. If you're listening, hi Chris, like you're amazing.
Let us know when you want to come on the show.
Yeah, exactly. We'd love to have you.
It will happen.
You can tell us, you can come on here and talk badly about Drew if you want. We'd be the first one to hear it. Get it here. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Okay, and then the next part, they're like in a hotel bar. And it's kind of funny because it's like she doesn't really want to be seen, but like she does a lot of things to be seen. But she screams, "Fuck!" And then she's explaining that she's explaining that some days you just wake up in a surly mood, You just need to get out of your system and then get on with your day. And I mean, again, another weird Donnie Darko connection. This one is intentional though, because there's a scene in Donnie Darko where she's so frustrated and she runs outside and screams fuck really loud to the sky. And what I remember is that Richard Kelly, the writer-director of Donnie Darko, was visiting her on the set of Charlie's Angels, and things were, you know, stressful and crazy, and she was in her trailer and she went outside and screamed that, and that's why he put that in the movie. So again, consistent, Drew.
Yep, consistent. I didn't know that fact, or I'd never heard that fact, but not surprising at all. And no. I like
totally makes sense.
We love Drew being her authentic self, even yelling,
even causing this episode to be labeled explicit.
Yes. We don't mind. It's completely worth it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, this is another pretty cool quote that I feel like says a lot about her. Do you think people are interested in me because of the tragedy or because of the survival? And then the author writes both. I guess that makes sense. Sometimes it pisses me off, wondering which one people are interested in. She pauses. I can't see myself the way other people see me. I'm not insecure. I've been through way too much fucking shit to be insecure. I've got huge balls. But I've been humbled. That makes you grateful for every day you have.
So cool.
And I think that this kind of speaks to what we were saying before. Like,
yeah, that she had to fight for it.
Yep. And I wonder, like, she would have had huge balls anyway, but like her balls got bigger because of that person who invaded her privacy.
Silver lining. Bigger balls.
Silver lining to grow Drew's balls.
And that pretty much wraps up the article. Mm-hmm. The very ending, which I feel like everybody just loves this. 2 days later, after Chris Mundy is finally done having his fun following Drew around, she sends him flowers and a poem, and it reads, "I watched you go down the sidewalk. Away went my being. Away went my friend. I will find you again." Oh. And so she sweet. Does. 2 years later, he's interviewing her again. So she was right.
She knew it. And even though we would never wish for the privacy of Drew to be invaded once again, Chris, can you show us this?
Chris Mundy, I know you're busy running Ozark, but could you like go find this poem?
Please. Thank you.
Post a picture.
Thank you. At How Do You Drew? Thanks.
So, wow, what a cool journey that article is.
Yep.
You learn so much. You get all those like awesome little details, like her backpack contents. Love it.
It's way cool. And I love, like, for us to go through it, for us to be able to connect it to things, like, it's a lot of fun. Like, I was wary about like going through that we would just be like reading quotes. I don't know. I think this was a lot of fun. So thanks for listening.
And I do like that. You're right. Like being able to connect it to things later on in her life or earlier in her life, or it's, this is why I really love being a deep fan of somebody. It's just this kind of thing, digging into it. So fun. All right. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for tuning in. As always, we'd really appreciate if you could rate, review, and subscribe. We've only gotten a couple ratings, and I know it probably really helps where we land in like searching on Apple Podcasts and such. Because right now, if you search Drew Barrymore in Apple Podcasts, you can't even find us, which is kind of frustrating. So I'm hoping maybe reviews would help with that. So even if you just go click the little 5 stars, how cool would that be? Please. And then just be sure that you also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at HowDoYouDrewPod.
And also don't forget to send us listener mail at howdoyoudrewpod@gmail.com, and maybe we'll read your email on the next podcast. Ooh. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
How Do You Drew podcast is brought to you by Ashley and Anne from thedrewseum.com. Our theme song is by our dear friend Matt Costa. Thank you for listening and see you next time.